G'day and welcome back to Australia's only Classic Mini YouTube channel. On this episode, I'm going to show you how to use a jack and a set of stands on a Classic Mini. So first things first, always make sure you jack up a vehicle on a flat surface. Next step is to ensure that the vehicle isn't able to roll away. Chock one of the wheels with a piece of timber, a brick, a rubber block, or even a wheel chock before jacking the vehicle up. Now before we get started, it is important to understand that there are different types of jacks and stands. The different types that I have is a pin type axle stand. This pin is able to be removed, which then enables the height to be adjusted. So if I pull that pin out, I can then raise or lower the jack stand depending where we need it. The second type that I have is a ratcheting type stand. So as you pull it up, ratchets into place and locks itself in there. You can get other styles, but that is the two styles that I use generally on my Classic Mini. Either ones will do, doesn't matter which ones you use, so long as they are rated more than 1 ton each. Now the type of jack that we're using is a low profile jack, which is ideal for getting under low cars like a Classic Mini. Now because we're jacking up the back of the vehicle, we're going to be using the subframe just here. So what you can do is place a rubber block or a piece of timber between the subframe and the jack. That way you're not going to damage it when you're jacking up the vehicle. Slide the jack underneath, twist the handle clockwise until it stops, and then slowly raise the jack. Once it's made contact, you can then raise the vehicle. Now Tomo's tech tip here is to ensure that whenever you finish with the jack, always place the handle vertically. The reason why is if you lay it down like this, you are likely to create a trip hazard, fall over, headbutt, knock yourself out, and then you'll wake up with a concussion and have to go to hospital. Once the vehicle is raised off the ground, we can then fit the jack stands. Now every vehicle is different where you're going to be placing the jack stand, so generally I like to go along the bottom cross member here, and once again you can place a piece of wood or a rubber block between the subframe and the jack stand. Now here's another one of Tomo's tech tips. When using a jack stand, make sure you allow maximum surface area for the jack stand to be touching the body or the chassis, whichever you are placing it under. So in our case, we're going to be facing it like this and we're going to be lowering it down. Always ensure that you use 2 jack stands. Now once you're happy with where the jack stands are placed, lower the vehicle slowly. Grab the handle and turn it anti-clockwise. So once the weight of the vehicle has been applied to the jack stands, remove the jack slowly. Once it's all the way down, remove the jack. Before getting under the car, triple check to make sure the jack stands haven't moved. Once you're satisfied that the jack stands are holding the car, you can now safely work on the vehicle. Always ensure that both jack stands are used, one on either side of the vehicle. That way you support the rear weight or the front weight of the vehicle when you have it up on stands. If you need to raise the vehicle any higher, you can use rubber blocks or even timber between the chassis or the subframe and the jack to be able to raise it up even higher. Now before I go, let's talk about where to jack it up off the front of the vehicle. So under the front subframe of the car, you can place a rubber block or a piece of timber between this tie bar bush housing and the jack, and jack the vehicle up off here. Alternatively, you can jack it up off under this flat part of the subframe just here. This is a really ideal spot, but then you are limited as well where you're going to be placing the jack stand. So I generally jack it up off here. Do not jack it up off this tie bar, otherwise you'll bend it and throw your alignment out. Always jack up off here or the flat surface here. Do not do what I did on a previous episode, jack it up off the bottom of the engine, because you will destroy the engine mounts, which are an absolute pain to do on a Classic Mini. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. I hope it was super informative and you guys learned something. Please remember that not everyone has used a jack or jack stands like us, let alone driven a Classic Mini. So for those people watching for the very first time, learning how to do this, I hope this video was super informative and you actually learned something from it. We'll see you next time, guys, on another episode of Tomo's Tune Ups.